This is Atlantic Television Network. Welcome to Global News at 9 p.m. First, the highlights. Police arrest drug baron, recover illicit drugs in Delta. Masop criticizes police for inviting Uwazurike in Imo State. Showore urges police to protect protesters on Monday. Federal government targets $5 trillion FDI from world investment, and protesters reject Trump's hardline policies in U.S. Onazi predicts Nigeria versus Gabon clash. Ned Nwoko speaks on Regina Daniels' domestic violence allegations. Operatives of the Ororokpek Division in Okpe Local Government Area of Delta State, led by CSP Paul Oboware, have arrested a 37-year-old notorious drug baron, Onos Afoko-Ogene, who is known for distributing large quantities of hard drugs within Warri and adjoining communities. The suspect was arrested, and the police also recovered from the suspect 3 kg of Canadian loud, 10 kg of Indian hemp, 24 liters of soaked weed suspected to be Indian hemp in dry gin, locally known as monkey tail. Several sachets of tramadol of various milligrams and 2 POS machines suspected of being used for drug sales. Delta State Police Public Relations Officer SP Bright Edafe confirmed the reports in a statement in worry that following credible intelligence, operatives of the Ororokpek Division arrested one Onos Afoko-Ogene, male, aged 37 years, a notorious drug baron known for distributing large quantities of hard drugs within Warri and adjoining communities. According to SP Edafe, acting promptly on a tip-off, the Divisional Police Officer Ororokpek Division, CSP Paul Oboware, mobilized and led his patrol teams to the identified flashpoint in Jado community, where the suspect and other suspected hoodlums were reportedly engaged in selling and consuming illicit substances. Senate President Godswill Akpabio and youths from his senatorial district in Ikot Ekpene have dismissed the allegations by Prince Pat Akpabio, the sister-in-law to the former governor, describing it as an attention-seeking adventure, and urged the Inspector General of Police, IGP Kayode Egbetokun, to investigate the allegations with proofs. The youth president, Chief Umar Asiak, who spoke on behalf of the coalition, also said plans were underway to petition the American government where Princess Akpabio resides to mandate her to come home to prove what she alleged, adding that such grievous claims cannot be swept under the carpet and through And though what is happening between Akpabio and his sister-in-law was a family altercation, the coalition would not allow the image of the Senate president, whom he described as a benefactor to so many families, to be dragged in the mud by unsubstantial allegations, and condemn in the strongest terms the careless statements and online publications aimed at ridiculing the Senate president. The group lamented that social media space should not be turned into a weapon of blackmail or a platform for personal grudges, adding that Nigeria is a country governed by laws and freedom of speech does not give anyone the right to defame or insult others without consequence, and therefore called on the Inspector General of Police to investigate the malicious online attacks and bring those responsible to justice. This is coming after President Akpabio had in a video called at her brother-in-law, Senator Akpabio, over alleged incompetence as a Senate president and involvement in alleged killing of some Akwa Ibom people when he was the governor, and threatened to divulge more secrets if Akpabio fails to address her claims. Even as she declared interest in contesting against Senator Akpabio in the 2027 elections. The recent outburst had since generated diverse reactions in the state, as so many people described it as a family feud occasioned by greed and power tussle, while others called for a ceasefire. And reacting to the allegations, Senator Akpabio, through his spokesperson, Eseme Eyibo, wondered why someone who levels such a heavy allegation would resort to Facebook as a vehicle instead of using a legal process or reporting to security agencies for investigation, and insisted that whoever asserts must prove, saying the issue of murder is not an issue that one should use in seeking attention, rather go through the formal process to complain. 3 officers of the Imo State Police Command have been arrested in the ongoing investigation ordered by the State Commissioner of Police, Aboki Danjuma, over the viral video showing how some officers of the command raided students' hostels at Federal Polytechnic Nekede, Owerri, injuring some students. The spokesperson of the command, DSP Henry Okoye, who disclosed this, said the 3 officers identified as Inspector Obina Peter, Corporal Amechi Augustine, and Corporal Ejikeme Victor were arrested following their alleged involvement in the attack on the students' hostel. The command still repeated that the conduct displayed in the viral video is highly unprofessional and does not reflect the discipline, ethics, and values of the Nigeria Police Force, and further assured that the outcome of the orderly room trial will be communicated to the public in due course. Imo State Police Command has summoned the leader of the movement for the actualization of the sovereign state of Biafra, MASOB, Chief Ralph Uwazurike, to appear before its anti-kidnapping unit over alleged criminal offences. Uwazurike was invited to report at the AKU headquarters in Owerri on Monday, October 20. The same day, civil society organizations are expected to hold nationwide peaceful protests demanding the release of the detained IPOB leader Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. According to the police investigation letter, Uwazurike is to answer questions regarding alleged criminal invasion, forgery, and willful damage. A letter jointly signed by ASP John Ebote, ASP Eze Jet, and Inspector Alice Zakari, dated October 16, 2025, MASOB described the police investigation as a possible attempt to prevent Uwazurike from participating in a planned peaceful protest for Nnamdi Kanu's release. A statement issued on Uwazurike's behalf by his Director of Information, Mazi Chris Mocha, MASOB confirmed that the pro-Biafra leader had been directed to report to the anti-kidnapping unit by 10 a.m. on Monday, October 20, adding that the invitation may not be unconnected to a recent rival video in which Uwazurike said he would be part of any peaceful protest for Nnamdi Kanu's release. The MASOB Director of Information also said Uwazurike in the video said the protest is not only about Kanu, but also about the collective dignity of the people, stressing that Uwazurike had consistently advocated a non-violent approach as a guiding principle of Biafra's self-determination struggle, adding that his support for the protest is based on conscience and justice, not confrontation. Leadership of the Biafra independence movement and the movement for the actualization of the sovereign state of Biafra has criticized the police invitation for its leader, Barrister Ralph Uwazurike, calling the move a violation of democratic norms and an attempt to detain him. A statement issued on Sunday and signed by the group's media aide, Mazi Chris Mocha, BIM MASOB, said the invitation, which asked Uwazurike to report at the police Tiger Base in Owerri on Monday, October 20, was prompted by alleged offences including criminal invasion, forgery, and willful damage. The group described the invitation as a ploy to arrest Uwazurike for no just cause and warned, "Don't touch Ralph Uwazurike," and insisted that its leader and Ijele Indibo, Ralph Uwazurike, had never committed any offense by volunteering to join a nationwide peaceful protest for the release of the detained leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB Nnamdi Kanu. The development follows Uwazurike's filing of a fundamental human rights suit at the Owerri High Court over the weekend against the Imo State Police Command and 7 others, and in the suit, he is seeking 100 million naira in damages for alleged rights violations and asking the court to restrain the police from arresting or detaining him over his planned participation in a nationwide peaceful protest calling for the release of detained IPOB leader Nnamdi Kanu on 20 October. Anambra State Governor Professor Chukwuma Soludo says power will move to the central senatorial zone of the state after his second term in office. Soludo, who disclosed this during a political rally organized for him by the people of Anocha local government area of the state. He hails from Isofia in Agwata local government area, which falls within the southern senatorial zone of the state, and would uphold Anambra's zoning formula by ensuring that after his tenure, his successor would come from the central zone. Soludo took over power from Chief Willie Obiano, who is from the northern senatorial zone, adding that his administration will ensure governance is handed over to someone from the Anambra Central Senatorial District as a commitment to ensuring inclusivity and fairness in political representation, and had criticized governorship candidates from outside the southern zone, accusing them of attempting to disrupt the state's zoning arrangement. Meanwhile, all 10 communities that make up Anocha local government area on Saturday endorsed Soludo as their preferred choice, adding that he had improved their communities through robust infrastructural development, road and facility enhancement of access to essential services easier for everyone. Political parties in Anambra State have urged the Independent National Electoral Commission and its incoming chair, Professor Joash Amopiton, to ensure a free, fair and credible governorship election, and the commission said it had begun the collection of permanent voter cards for eligible voters. INEC, in a statement, said PVC collection for individuals who registered during the recent continuous voter registration exercise would commence on Wednesday and run through Sunday, October 26. INEC's Director of Voter Education and Publicity, Victoria Etta Messi, said the collection is strictly in person at the registration area, where voters originally registered, and warned that failure to collect PVCs within the stipulated period would render voters ineligible for the November 8th governorship poll. In addition, the commission said it would conduct a mock accreditation exercise on Saturday, October 25, in selected polling units across the state to test the upgraded bimodal voter accreditation system and assess its response time, and also test result uploads to the INEC result viewing portal ahead of the election. Meanwhile, political parties have weighed in on the process, urging vigilance and transparency, and the All Progressives Congress in the state has called for thorough scrutiny of all INEC officials and ad hoc staff, while the party's Deputy Publicity Secretary Eugene Okeke has urged the incoming INEC chair to scrutinize every electoral commissioner and all ad hoc staff that will be deployed for the governorship election in Anambra State. Tragedy struck over the weekend after a 22-year-old lady, Miss Odama Mary Agado, reportedly took her own life when she noticed her boyfriend with another woman in Enugu, the Enugu state capital. This is coming after Mary, who hailed from Woleche Ipole in Yaheward, Yala local government area of Cross River State, must have ingested a poisonous substance suspected to be sniper after the heartbreaking incident. Eyewitnesses said the deceased, a hairstylist based in Enugu, had been doing well in her business and had recently bought a car and rented an apartment for her boyfriend, whom she later found with another lady in the apartment she had rented for him, and the development sparked a quarrel between them. The girl's mother, who reportedly had no airtime to call her back, did not raise an alarm or alert neighbors until she later received the call that her daughter had drunk sniper and was rushed to the hospital, but efforts by doctors to save her life reportedly failed, and she was confirmed dead later that evening. Police have launched an investigation into allegations of $556,000 fraud against a Lagos-based businessman and property developer Sijubomi Ogundele and his firm Sujimoto Construction Limited. The probe followed a petition filed by one Mr. Olatokumbo Kole, who accused Ogundele and his company of obtaining money under false pretense, fraudulent misrepresentation, criminal breach of trust, and conversion. Speaking on the matter, Ogundele said he was already in talks with both the police and the complainant to resolve the issue. According to the petition dated August 18, 2025, and addressed to the Assistant Inspector General of Police Zone 7 headquarters, Abuja, Kole alleged that Ogundele had in 2020 offered to sell him a 3-bedroom apartment at Leonardo by Sojimoto Luxury Apartment for $594,000 $474.22 and claimed that after paying 90% of the sum, amounting to $556,000 in April 2022, there was no visible progress on the project site. The petition further alleged that when Kole visited the site, no development was ongoing as earlier presented by Ogundele, while Kole's lawyer, Ayokunle Erin, said the businessman later tried to persuade their client to invest in another luxury project known as the Lucrezia by Sujimeto, which offered better returns. When Kole refused, the petition alleged Ogundele became unreachable, and the lawyers argued that the businessman's actions amounted to obtaining money by false pretense under the Advance Fee Fraud and Other Related Offences Act 2006, and urged the police to carry out a prompt and thorough investigation. The police is yet to make any formal statement on the status of the investigation. Nigeria Police Force has warned intending protesters agitating for the release of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu against any form of protest around the Aso Rock and its environs. A statement by the Force Public Relations Officer, CSP Benjamin Hundeyin in Abuja, said the warning following an order of the Federal High Court, Abuja, in a suit between the Federal Republic of Nigeria versus Omoyele Sowore and 4 others on October 17, restraining any form of protest around the Aso Rock and its environs. The police spokesman said the force will ensure the free flow of traffic, protection of lives and property, and security of all law-abiding citizens, adding that any person or group that uses protest as cover to incite violence and carry or use offensive weapons as well as vandalize public or private property, kidnap or engage in acts likely to cause loss of life or serious injury will be dealt with decisively. He said offenders would be arrested, subjected to full investigation and prosecuted under relevant criminal laws, including laws relating to public order, violent conduct and terrorism where applicable, adding that those who incite others via social media or other platforms will be investigated and prosecuted using digital evidence. He also said the Inspector General of Police, IG Mr. Kayode Egbetekun, had directed the Commissioner of Police, CP, in charge of the Federal Capital Territory, FCT, and relevant operational commands to ensure strict enforcement of the court order, and further urged the organizers of the protest and participants to avoid the restricted areas specified by the court and refrain from carrying weapons, engaging in provocative conduct, or encouraging others to breach the law. The police also urged the protesters to channel their grievances through the courts and other lawful avenues rather than the streets, and enjoined those not engaging in the protests to go about their lawful businesses without fear, as anyone found to be in breach of the court order or in contempt of the law and will be arrested and prosecuted. Suspected gunmen have attacked the Zonkwa Divisional Police Headquarters in Zankon, Kataf local government area of Kaduna State, killing 2 officers, which forced police guards to retreat into nearby bushes due to the heavy gunfire and lack of perimeter fencing. The slain officers were identified as DSP Monday Madaki 55, who served as the incident duty officer, and Inspector Bean Magaji 49, the charge room officer CRO. Both sustained fatal gunshot wounds during the assault. According to Zagazala Makama, no firearms were stolen during the attack, and normalcy has since been restored, while security forces have intensified efforts to track down and arrest the perpetrators, and joint patrols and surveillance operations have been reinforced across Zankon, Kataf, and neighboring communities. All Progressives Congress (APC) has attracted more members, with the defection of 4 Kaduna State House of Assembly lawmakers and 5 House of Representatives members, along with thousands of their supporters. National Chairman Professor Nentawe Iwada, Speaker of the House of Representatives, Right Honorable Tajuddin Abbas, and Minister of Environment Alhaji Balarabe Abbas Lawal, as well as the Chairman of Northwest Development Commission Alhaji Lawal Samaila Yakawada, and several thousands of APC supporters. Speaking at the event, Governor Obasani assured the campees that APC is one family which does not discriminate against its members, adding that those that have joined our party today and those that have been with us since the creation of this party will have the same privilege. The governor recalled that APC had only 4 members of House of Representatives in 2023, but the party now has 14 members at the Power Legislative Chamber, adding that the influx of elected members into APC in Kaduna State is not rocket science, but based on his administration's focus on justice, fairness, and inclusivity. Speaking at the ceremony, Professor Nentawe described APC as the promised land for Nigerian politicians, adding that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and Governor Obasani deserve a second term owing to their achievement, while House of Representatives Speaker Tajuddin Abbas said the APC has achieved political dominance in Kaduna State, a feat that no party had ever attained in the state. Center for the Promotion of Private Enterprise, CPPE, says President Bola Tinubu's recent presidential pardon can damage investors' confidence in Nigeria, a situation whereby persons convicted of economic and financial crimes benefit from the presidential pardon raises questions about policy consistency, contract sanctity, and investment security, thereby discouraging both domestic and foreign investors. CPPE Chief Executive Officer Dr. Muda Yusuf raised the concern in a statement on Sunday, and according to the economic think tank, while the prerogative of mercy is a legitimate constitutional instrument, its application to serious economic and financial offences and other criminal acts demands utmost discretion, transparency, and alignment with Nigeria's commitments to anti-corruption campaign, drug control, and sanctity of human life. CPPE urged the federal government to urgently review and rationalize the list of beneficiaries of the presidential pardon and reaffirm Nigeria's zero-tolerance position on corruption, drug trafficking, illegal mining, and financial crimes, uphold institutional integrity, and ensure that justice is never compromised for convenience or political expediency, while strengthening transparency and accountability in the exercise of executive clemency to safeguard public confidence and investor trust. This is coming after, on October 11, 2025, the presidency released the names of 175 persons granted clemency, including illegal miners, drug traffickers, and kidnappers, and Tinubu's decision triggered public outrage and condemnation, while a statement from the Federation and Minister of Justice, Prince Lateef Fagbemi's son, clarified that the list of those pardoned is subject to review. Socio-economic rights and accountability projects have urged Senate President Godswill Akpabio and Speaker of the House of Representatives, Tajuddin Abbas, to explain how the 18.6 billion naira allegedly paid for the construction of National Assembly Service Commission Office complex was spent. SERAP wants Mr. Akpabio and Mr. Abbas to name the company that received the payments and to disclose the names and details of its directors, shareholders, and addressees, and also demanded explanations for alleged multiple breaches of the Procurement Act, including the absence of a needs assessment, lack of public advertisement and bidding, and the absence of a Bureau of Public Procurement certificate of no objection or Federal Executive Council approved. A statement on Sunday by its Deputy Director, Kolawale Oluwadare, the rights group argued that addressing the allegations would show that the National Assembly is acting in the best interest of the people and not for personal interest. Adding that the allegations are documented in the Office of the Auditor General of the Federation's account annual report published on September 9, 2025. According to SERAP, both contracts were reportedly awarded without any needs assessment, newspaper advertisement, bidding process, contract agreements, bidders' quotations, and without any approval by the Federal Executive Council, and there was also no Bureau of Public Procurement certificate of no objection, and the allegations suggest grave violations of the public trust, the Nigerian Constitution, and national and international anti-corruption obligations, adding that the National Assembly can only become a credible exercise oversight and anti-corruption duties if it demonstrates exemplary leadership by investigating the allegations. SERAP gave the National Assembly 7 days from receipt or publication of the letter to act, warning that it will take all appropriate legal actions to compel the legislature and the Commission to comply if there is no satisfactory response, and urged that the matter be referred to relevant anti-corruption agencies for investigation, prosecution, and recovery and remittance of any missing public funds. The group further said accounting for the allegedly missing funds and publishing the details of the contractor would restore public confidence and demonstrate the Assembly's commitment to transparency, accountability, and the rule of law. Defense Headquarters has denied as false and misleading a report by an online publication insinuating that the cancellation of activities marking Nigeria's 65th independence anniversary was linked to an alleged attempted military coup. The report also made spurious references to the recent Defense Headquarters press release declaring the arrest of 16 officers currently under investigation for professional misconduct. A statement by the Director of Defense Information, Abuja Brigadier General Oku Guso, said the Armed Forces of Nigeria AFN wishes to categorically state that the claims by the said publication are entirely false, malicious, and intended to cause unnecessary tension and distrust among the populace, adding that the decision regarding the cancellation of 65th Independence Anniversary Parade was to allow Mr. President to attend a strategic bilateral meeting outside the country and for members of the AFN to sustain the momentum on the fight against terrorism, insurgency, and banditry. It also said the defense headquarters wishes to reassure Nigerians that the ongoing investigation involving the 16 officers is a routine internal process aimed at ensuring discipline and professionalism is maintained within the ranks, and an investigative panel has been duly constituted and its findings will be made public. The defense headquarters calls on all peace-loving citizens to continue to provide necessary support to the security agents, stressing that the federal government, the legislature, and the judiciary are working closely for the safety, development, and well-being of the nation to sustain the existing democracy rule in Nigeria. The defense headquarters also urges members of the public to disregard the falsehood being circulated by the purveyors of misinformation and enemies of the nation, adding that the armed forces of Nigeria remains firmly loyal to the Constitution and the federal government under the leadership of the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Force Public Relations Officer CSP Benjamin Hundeyin says at no point did the police seek a court injunction to stop the protest rights to peaceful assembly to stop the hashtag Free Nnamdi Kanu protest through the court. This is coming after the Federal High Court in Abuja had refused the Nigeria Police Force's bid to stop the Free Nnamdi Kanu Now protest, allowing it to proceed as scheduled on Monday, October 20, 2025. Reacting to the judicial decision, the protest convener Omoyele Sowore affirmed the court's decision as a victory for civil liberties and doubled down on the scheduled protest. Convener of the hashtag Revolution Now movement, Omoyele Sowore, has urged the Federal Capital Territory Commissioner of Police, CP Mila Dantawaye, and officers of the Nigeria Police Force to honor their oath to protect citizens and respect the constitutional right to peaceful assembly ahead of Monday's hashtag Free Nnamdi Kanu Now march. The planned protest billed for Monday, October 20, and aimed at pressing for the release of the detained leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, has already drawn legal and security attention. The Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun, in a statement on Sunday, has directed his men to be on high alert and ensure strict enforcement of the court order, and also ordered all relevant commands to maintain visible deployment across strategic locations in Abuja to prevent a breakdown of law and order. But in a statement shared on his social media on Sunday, Sowore urged the new FCT police boss not to adopt a heavy-handed approach to the demonstration and called on CP Dantawaye and every police officer to refuse any order that would violate protesters' rights and to ensure the safety of marchers. He warned that any use of excessive force or lawful arrest would attract repercussions, saying Nigerians would hold accountable anyone who attempts brutality, stressing that Kanu has been in the custody of the Department of State Services since June 2021, and he is facing a 7-count charge of terrorism and treasonable felony, and adding that the IPOB leader was first arrested in 2015, granted bail in 2017, and fled after a military invasion of his home in Abia State. And despite several court rulings that ordered for his release, the federal government is yet to comply, a situation that continues to stir public outrage and renewed agitation. You are still watching the Global News on Atlantic Television Network. We'll be back after this break. Do stay tuned.
In Africa, the National Broadcasting Commission is set to host the 14th Biennial Conference and Exhibition of African Broadcasters, Africast 2025 in Lagos, Nigeria. Participants will experience a week of world-class expositions showcasing the very best in creativity, innovation, and cutting-edge broadcasting technological advancement and trends in the global broadcast media ecosystem. Theme: Navigating the Digital Surge, Building a Resilient Africa Media Ecosystem for the Future. Date: Monday, October 20th to Friday, October 24th, 2025. Venue: Balmoral Convention Center, Sheraton, Ikeja, Lagos, Nigeria. Time: 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. daily. Visit www.africastexpo.com or email info@nbc.gov.ng. NBC, your right to quality broadcasting. Announcer, Management.
Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. And now to the rest of our stories. Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps FCT Command has cautioned protesters to desist from vandalizing critical national assets and infrastructure in the territory during Monday's protest. The NSCDC FCT Commandant Dr. Olushola Odumosu, who disclosed this during an interview on Sunday in Abuja, said separate groups have organized protests on Monday for and against the release of Nnamdi Kanu, leader of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra, and called on citizens in support or against the planned rallies to adhere strictly to the provisions of the court order. He said the Corps had massively deployed officers and men to protect all CNAI, as well as ensure the protection of residents across the FCT before, during and after the protest, adding that personnel had been warned to avoid accidental discharge, harassment or intimidation of anyone, as no indiscipline or overzealousness will be condoned. He further urged the deployed men to be civil by adopting the non-kinetic approach while carrying out the mandates of the Corps, and warned those with the intention of hijacking or disrupting the proposed peaceful protest to desist, as anyone caught with criminal intentions will be arrested and dealt with according to the extant laws. This is coming after the convener of the #Revolution Now movement, Omoyele Sowore, and the coalition of civil society organizations have vowed to proceed with the Monday protest demanding Kanu's release, stressing that Kanu is facing a 7-count charge of terrorism and treasonable felony and has been in the custody of the Department of State Service since June 2021. The IPOB leader was first arrested in 2015, granted bail in 2017, and fled after a military invasion of his home in Abia State. And despite several court rulings ordering his release, the federal government is yet to comply, a situation that continues to stir public outrage and renewed agitation. Police Service Commission has reinstated some police officers who had been punished after reviewing a series of disciplinary cases, while 24 appeals and 1 pending disciplinary matter were deliberated on during its plenary. A statement on Sunday by the PSE spokesperson, Ikechukwu Ani, said the decisions were aimed at ensuring fairness and justice in police disciplinary administration, adding that among the officers reinstated was ACP Ejiofor Grace Obiageli, who had been compulsorily retired from following an incident on September 8, 2023 at Old Netim Division, Akampa, Cross River State. The Commission approved the reinstatement from the date of her compulsory retirement and to be properly placed so as to be at par with her mate, and also freed ACP Muhammad Awal Yunusa from a punishment of severe reprimand, restored the rank of CSP Ihekandu Alwell Okwonu, and reinstated him, but subject to his date of retirement. And equally said the Commission dismissed petitions against DIG Bizugu Dali, describing allegations of falsified records as frivolous, adding that as the exclusive body on police discipline, the warning letter issued to the officer, and which did not emanate from the Commission, was null and void, and also quashed the reversal of his date of birth from 10th of April 1967 to 10th of April 1966 through a signal. And he said the PSE chairman, DIG Hashimu Agongo, retired, promised that the Commission would continue to ensure that justice is served promptly in all disciplinary cases, adding that officers who are cleared of wrongdoing should not have their careers hindered by administrative delays or errors. Comptroller General of Customs Bashir Adewale Adeniyi has urged a paradigm shift in the government's approach to border management, calling for a deliberate effort to transform border communities from neglected zones into centers of opportunity that would deliver far greater national security and economic dividends. Adeniyi disclosed this in a statement during the Customs Officers' Wives Association Sustainability and Green Border Summit held in Abuja. Said genuine empowerment through eco enterprises, youth employment, and targeted infrastructure offers a sustainable alternative to the cycle of poverty, smuggling, and insecurity often associated with border regions. The customs boss also called for massive and direct investment in Nigeria's border communities to promote sustainability and curb cross-border crime, saying talking about green borders must now give way to action and funding that reaches people on the ground, adding that transforming Nigeria's frontier communities required more than policy rhetoric and workshops, but real financial commitment to empower women, youth, and small eco-enterprises. Adeniyi also chairs the World Customs Organization Council, has repeatedly urged Nigeria and its partners to prioritize eco-friendly border management, describing it as central to both national security and adding that the Nigeria Customs Service would continue to align its modernization agenda with global sustainability goals, as well as ensure that trade facilitation efforts continue contribute to environmental protection and local empowerment. Adeni further called for heavy investment in border development, saying prevention of smuggling through eco enterprise was more effective than enforcement through checkpoints. Academic Staff Union of University has reminded the Ministry of Education to settle the ongoing industrial dispute. ASU National President Professor Chris Piwona, who disclosed this in Abuja Monday, will mark the 7th day and there was need for dialogue, and this comes after the Deputy Senate President Jibrin Barau said the Parliament is determined to broker peace and prevent the industrial action from escalating. ASU commenced a 2-week warning strike after the ultimatum issued to the federal government ongoing negotiations aimed at averting another round of industrial unrest in public universities. This is coming after the Minister of Education, Dr. Tunji Alausa, said in Abuja that the government had entered the final phase of talks with ASU and other unions to resolve lingering disputes over welfare funding and the implementation of the 2009 ASU FGN agreement, adding that President Bola Tinubu's administration had already made significant progress with the release of 50 billion naira for the payment of earned academic allowances, while another 150 billion naira had been captured in the 2025 budget for needs assessments to be disbursed in 3 tranches. But declaring the strike, Piwona said it goes without saying that there is nothing sufficient on the ground to stop the implementation of the ASU next resolution to embark on a 2-week warning strike at the expiry of the 14-day notice given on the 28th September 2025. Adding that ASU is currently demanding the conclusion of the renegotiated 2009 FGN ASU agreement, release of the withheld 3.5 months salaries, sustainable funding of public universities, as well as revitalization of public universities and cessation of the victimization of lecturers in Lagos State University, Kogi State University, now Prince Abubakar Audu University, and Federal University of Technology, Owerri. Others are payment of outstanding 25 to 35% salary arrears, payment of promotion arrears for over 4 years, and release of withheld third-party deductions, including cooperative contributions and union check-off dues. National Legal Advisor of the People's Democratic Party, Kamaldeen Ajibade San, says the party's National Working Committee does not have the legal vice to remove or replace him as the party's legal representative in any matter before the court. This is coming after a mild drama occurred in an Abuja Federal High Court when 2 senior lawyers, Ajibade and Chief Chris Uche, San declared appearances as lead counsel for the PDP in a suit seeking to stop the party's planned national convention scheduled for November 15 and 16, 2025 in Ibadan, Oyo State. While Uche informed the court that he had been instructed to represent the PDP through a letter from the party's national chairman, Umar Damagum, Ajibade maintained that as a national legal advisor, he remained the only person constitutionally empowered to appoint external counsel for the party and cited relevant judicial authorities to support his position. At the next sitting, the presiding judge, Justice James Omotosho, directed both senior lawyers to file formal processes to enable the court to determine the proper legal representative of the PDP in the matter, and the court later fixed October 20 for hearing the main suit and directed all parties to exchange processes by October 17. Reacting to the development in an interview, Ajibade insisted that the party couldn't drop him from the suit since the issue was already before the court for determination, adding that only the party's national convention had the power to remove or alter his position, and each member of the NWC had specific functions as defined in the PDP constitution. The defendants include the Independent National Electoral Commission, the PDP, its key officers, and several top members in the suit as respondents. Labour Party's 2023 presidential flag bearer, Peter Obi, has dismissed growing speculation that former Vice President Atiku Abubakar may hijack the African Democratic Congress presidential ticket ahead of the 2027 general elections. Obi, during his recent visit to LEA Primary School, Kapwa, Abuja, said he had no fear about Atiku's political moves, describing him instead as a dear elder brother and respected leader. The speculation follows reports that Atiku's loyalists from the People's Democratic Party have been defecting to the ADC coalition, but Obi, brushing over the fear, said the emerging coalition was about national rescue, not rivalry, and expressed his readiness to contest whether under the ADC platform or otherwise, stressing that competence and sincerity of purpose should define Nigeria's next leadership. The former Labour Party candidate further urged Nigerians to shift focus from partisan politics to issues that directly impact citizens' welfare. National Vice Chairman of the All Progressives Congress Southeast, Ijoma Arodiobo, has dismissed the insinuations that state governors defecting to the ruling party were being coerced, induced, or threatened by the federal government. He said this while reacting to claims by opposition figures, including the People's Democratic Party National Publicity Secretary Debo Ologunaba, who alleged that the APC was using undemocratic means, including blackmail and intimidation, to pressure governors and other opposition members into joining its fold. Arodobu, who described the allegations as baseless, said no governor had been denied federal allocation or compelled to defect, adding that unlike during the PDP administration, when Lagos State under Bola Tinubu as the governor was denied federal allocation for months, while the current APC government had maintained fairness and respect for all states irrespective of party affiliation. Arodobu said what is attracting governors to the APC is the growing confidence in President Tinubu's leadership and the perceived success of his administration, and further credited the All Progressives Governors Forum led by Imo State Governor Hope Uzodinma for fostering unity and collaboration among state leaders. He also advised opposition parties, particularly the PDP, to focus on internal reforms instead of blaming the APC for their woes. Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board, JAMB, has declared removal of mathematics as admission criteria for arts and humanities courses was done to avoid forgery and realign policy with reality. JAMB Registrar Professor Ishaq Oloyede made this assertion while addressing journalists at the opening ceremony of Jihad Week organized by Muslim Students Society of Nigeria, University of Ibadan branch, on Sunday in Ibadan, the Oyo State capital. This is coming after the Federal Ministry of Education had earlier said credit in mathematics in the senior school certificate examination will no longer be a condition for admission for students studying arts and humanities courses in universities and polytechnics, adding that the decision to remove mathematics was taken by the Federal Ministry of Education in order to tackle forgery and realign policy with reality. He said students studying some courses in universities, especially arts and humanities courses, have nothing to lose if they do not have credits in mathematics, because there is no relationship between their course and mathematics, adding that the recent embargo placed on the establishment of more universities was taken by the Federal Executive Council in order to strengthen the existing universities, stressing that all the decisions are in the interest of the students, parents, and other stakeholders. National Youth Service Corps (NYSC) has declared the opening of its portal for the 2025 Batch B remobilization exercise. In a post on the official X handle of the NYSC on Sunday, a statement by the NYSC management said the portal will be accessible from October 25 to November 3, 2025 for corps members who absconded during their service year. The NYSC further directed those who need to refund monthly allowances received during their initial service to do so only through their online dashboard, adding that absconded corps members who registered during the 2025 Batch A remobilization but could not complete documentation in their state of remobilization are required to register for the 2025 Batch B exercise. And now to some business news. International Monetary Fund has called on Nigeria and other sub-Saharan African countries to urgently reform their tax systems and strengthen debt management frameworks to tackle rising fiscal vulnerabilities and unlock financing for development. IMF warned that the region's fragile economic stability could be jeopardized if reforms continue to stall, adding that the region faces rising fiscal vulnerabilities, stubborn inflation, and weak access to finance, which threaten to derail post-pandemic recovery gains. The fund said the region must adopt innovative financing tools such as blended finance and debt for development swaps, while improving domestic revenue collection to sustain growth amid tightening global financial conditions, adding that Africa's development financing gap remains wide, with total blended finance inflows to the region over averaging just $6 billion annually, barely enough to meet mounting infrastructure, health, and green energy needs. Blended finance combines concessional funding such as grants, low-interest loans or guarantees with private capital to de-risk investment in key sectors like renewable energy, healthcare, digital infrastructure, and agriculture. Examples include renewable energy projects in Tanzania, agriculture in Senegal, and health initiative in Nigeria. However, the IMF warned that Africa's access to such mechanisms remains constrained by weak regulatory frameworks, opaque debt data, and high domestic borrowing costs, adding that scaling up the flows requires credible policy and regulatory frameworks, data and debt transparency, and improved public financial management. On tax policy, the IMF identified Nigeria and several peers as countries that need to rationalize costly and opaque tax expenditures such as exemptions, preferential rates, and deferrals that erode accountability and public trust. The IMF advised that sustainable revenue mobilization and prudent debt management are critical for Nigeria to reduce its over-reliance on expensive borrowing and to fund development priorities such as infrastructure, education and healthcare, stressing that there is a significant scope for the region to rationalize costly and opaque tax expenditures, including exemptions, deductions, credits, preferential rates, and deferrals which undermine accountability and trust in institutions. World Bank President Ajay Banga has warned that without deliberate and coordinated global action, the growing population of young people could become a source of instability rather than a catalyst for progress, and projected that Nigeria's population may rise by about 130 million by the year 2050. Banga will disclose this during the 2025 annual meetings of the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank Group, where he warned that Africa's explosive population growth presented both an unprecedented opportunity and a looming risk, cautioned that failure to create economic opportunities might turn youthful optimism into frustration, fueling unrest, insecurity, and mass migration with far-reaching consequences for every region and economy. According to him, with the right investments focused on opportunity rather than need, Africa's young population could become a powerful engine for sustainable growth and innovation in decades ahead, and described the coming decades as one of the great demographic shifts in human history, adding that by 2050, more than 85% of the world's population will live in countries currently considered developing. He warned that over the next 10 to 15 years, approximately 1.2 billion young people will enter the global workforce, competing for only 400 million available jobs, resulting in a gap of 800 million unemployed or underemployed youths worldwide. The World Bank boss said the pace of population growth was most staggering in Africa, which will be home to one in 4 people by 2050, adding that the projected surge of 130 million new citizens in the next 25 years, Nigeria could climb even higher, outpacing many developed nations in size and youth population, warning that failure to harness the demographic dividend could destabilize economies and fuel insecurity. Presidential Foreign Intervention Promotion Council has set its sights on bringing in about $5 trillion in foreign direct investment through Nigeria's hosting of the World Investment Summit 2026. A statement by the summit, which will be hosted under the theme Unlocking Our Capital, Accelerating Development, Driving Prosperity, said it is aimed at positioning the country as a premier destination for international capital and partnerships. The World Investment Summit is expected to play host to over 80 heads of state and government, 96 ministers, 800 speakers, and 8,000 participants from around the world in April 2026 in Abuja. While at a pre-summit dinner at Abuja, the Director General of PFIPC, Adeniyi Matthew, reaffirmed Nigeria's readiness to host the global event, saying Nigeria, with its vast potential and global opportunity, is the perfect host for this momentous occasion. He described the summit as more than a conference, a catalyst for growth, a platform for partnership, and a beacon of hope for a brighter future, adding that the Presidential Foreign Intervention Promotion Council is the creation of the Nigerian presidency to advance the nation's global economic interest. It also said, while foreign investment is essential, strengthening local enterprises, particularly small and medium-sized businesses, remains equally critical for building a resilient economy. And now to international tidbits. Huge crowds took to the streets in all 50 US states at No Kings protests on Saturday, venting anger over President Donald Trump's hardline policies, while Republicans ridiculed them as hate America rallies. Organizers said 7 million people marched in protest, spanning New York to Los Angeles, with demonstrations popping up in small cities across the U.S. heartland and even near Trump's home in Florida, and other colorful signs called on people to protect democracy, while others demanded the country abolish the Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency at the center of Trump's anti-immigrant crackdown. Demonstrators criticized what they called the Republican billionaire's strong-arm tactics, including attacks on the media, political opponents, and undocumented immigrants. And in Los Angeles, protesters floated a giant balloon of Trump in a diaper. Many flew flags with at least one referencing Pirates Enemy Hate, One Piece, brandishing the skull logo that has recently become a staple of anti-government protests from Peru to Madagascar. Swiss families priced out of Geneva and forced to live just across the border in France are reeling from another blow after their children were being thrown out of Genevan schools. The Geneva authorities' decision to bar pupils who live in the Swiss cities surrounding the French suburbs and villages has left parents angry, children worried, and French municipalities fuming at having to absorb more than 2,000 extra kids into their classrooms. Home to numerous international institutions, Geneva is one of the most expensive cities in the world to live in, and its position is geographically curious, and the Swiss city is almost entirely surrounded by France, and the Geneva canton is more than 5.5 kilometers or 3.4 miles from the French border. The French village of Beausset is home to cross-border workers, many of them Swiss nationals who cannot afford to live in Geneva. France's ex-president Nicolas Sarkozy is said to be jailed on Tuesday over a scheme to acquire Libyan funding for his 2007 presidential run, becoming the first former head of a European Union country to serve time behind bars. Sarkozy, France's right-wing leader from 2007 to 2012, was convicted in late September on criminal conspiracy over a plan for late Libyan dictator Muammar Gaddafi to fund his electoral campaign, and a former state leader who has appealed the verdict and denounced an injustice is to be incarcerated in the Parisian prison La Santé. Sarkozy used to be the first French leader to be incarcerated since Philippe Pétain, the Nazi collaborationist head of state's France's Vichy region, who was jailed after World War II, and he is likely to be held in one of the cells of 9 square meters, 95 square feet in the prison's solitary confinement wing. This would avoid Sarkozy having to interact with other prisoners or them taking pictures of him with one of the many mobile phones that are smuggled inside, they said, requesting anonymity because they are not allowed to talk to the press. And President Judge Nathalie Gavarino said during Sarkozy's sentencing that the offenses were of exceptional gravity and therefore ordered him to be incarcerated even if he filed an appeal. But Sarkozy's lawyers are expected to request his release as soon as he sets foot inside the jail, and the appeal trials has 2 months to examine it. But the court's ruling did not follow the prosecutor's conclusion that Sarkozy received or used the funds for his campaign, and it acquitted him on separate charges of embezzling Libyan public funds, passive corruption, and illicit financing of an electoral campaign. And here now is ATN Sports News. Former Super Eagles midfielder Ogenyi Onazi is tipping the current squad to beat Gabon in next month's crucial 2026 World Cup playoff game. This is coming after Nigeria demolished Benin Republic 4-0 to book their spot in the African playoffs. Onazi said Eric Chell's men now have a second chance at making it to next year's tournament. Following a poor start to the qualifying series, and if Nigeria beats Gabon on November 13, they will then take on either Cameroon or DR Congo for Africa's sole ticket to the intercontinental playoffs. Al Nassr captain Cristiano Ronaldo says achieving success is not a matter of luck. Ronaldo, who disclosed this after he scored a goal and registered an assist in Al Nassr's 5-1 win over Al Fateh in the Saudi Pro League on Saturday, said his goal against Al Fateh saw him achieve an incredible record of 800 goals in club football. Ronaldo is now the first footballer in history to reach 800 goals in club football, having played for the likes of Sporting CP, Juventus, Manchester United, and Real Madrid in the past. In the post via his official Instagram handle after the game, Ronaldo said success is not an accident. During the encounter, João Felix scored a hat-trick, while Kingsley Coman scored a goal, and the win means Al Nassr are on top of the Saudi Pro League table with 15 points from 5 games. Al Nassr will face Gao in the AFC Cup tie on Wednesday at the Fatoda Stadium. And now, entertainment news. Businessman and politician Senator Ned Nwoko has addressed the viral video showing his wife, Nollywood actress Regina Daniels, in distress, denying claims of domestic violence and attributing their marital crisis to her alleged struggle with drug and alcohol abuse. A statement released on Sunday, Nwoko said the actress's battle with substance use and it had taken a toll on their marriage, and also alleged that Regina had recently become violent, assaulting 3 of his staff members and destroying property, including vehicles and windows, within 2 days. He said he had urged her to continue her rehabilitation either in Asokoro or abroad, where she would have limited access to drugs, expressing concern for her well-being, and further claimed that Regina had refused to take their son, Moon, to the hospital during the medical emergency and instead turned on the resident nurse who reportedly exposed her alleged drug use. He also accused 2 individuals, identified as Sammy and Ann, of supplying drugs to the actress, claiming they instigated chaos in his home in his absence, and the politician's statement follows the viral video of the actress that surfaced on social media on Saturday, October 18, 2025, showing her in tears and suggesting she had been physically assaulted. And that's the global news for tonight. Before we go, another look at the major stories. Police arrest drug baron, recover illicit drugs in Delta. Masop criticizes police for inviting Uwazurike in Imo State. Showore urges police to protect protesters on Monday. Federal government targets $5 trillion FDI from world investment. Protesters reject Trump's hardline policies in US. Onazi predicts Nigeria versus Gabon clash. Ned Nwoko speaks on Regina Daniels' domestic violence allegations. I am Favor Chief Question Michael. Thank you for watching. You can follow us on social media platforms, on Twitter at Atlantic TV Network, on Facebook and YouTube at Atlantic Television Network, and on Instagram at Atlantic TV Network. And don't forget, peace and unity are the pathways to progress. Do have a pleasant night rest.